5 minutes. Yeah, sure, please start.
Recording in progress.
So we fixed the volume, you could see. Council, thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight to present. This is a public hearing for our home ARPA dollars. We had a public hearing last night virtually. We will have tomorrow, we will have a hybrid, so it'll be in person and virtually, so it'll be the third of public hearings. So the ARPA home dollars was received by the City of Scranton. We are an entitlement community, so we received a direct entitlement of ARPA home dollars to the amount of little over $2.4 million. This came via HUD as opposed to the Treasury, like the $68 million that we've received previously. So as one of the requirements that HUD has is we need to develop a plan for these dollars. So we have till 2030 to be able to spend these dollars, but we need to submit the plan to HUD by March. So the City of Scranton contracted with Answer Advisory, and Anna Sitton from Answer Advisory is here with us today, and she's going to walk you through the draft plan. Anna?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Eileen, for that introduction. I do have a presentation. I believe we're working on getting that screen share right now. As Eileen mentioned, the City of Scranton was allocated around $2.4 million for the home ARP allocation to be utilized for the production and preservation of affordable housing, tenant-based rental assistance, supportive services, the purchase of and development of non-congregate shelter, and then administration and operating funds. And then I believe I can share my screen. Okay. Is that presentation up for everyone? Yes. Okay, great. So this is an overview as we've just discussed. The American Rescue Plan provided $5 billion to assist individuals and households who are homeless, at risk, or other vulnerable populations by providing those eligible activities that I just identified. And these are to be administered through HUD to the City of Scranton as an entitlement community. The goal with the home ARP allocation plan was to identify and leverage existing strategies and goals within the City of Scranton, which fortunately were identified recently within the city's strategic plan, which includes improving access to affordable quality housing, encouraging new development, increasing access to high quality affordable housing, and ensuring affordable and quality housing is accessible for new, long-time, and prospective residents. So with those key takeaways in mind, in order to move forward with both the requirements associated with the HUD allocation plan development and the goals and initiatives outlined by the city, we engaged with a variety of stakeholders, first being the mayor's office, to share that strategic plan and discuss long-term opportunities and goals within the city. Through the course of the last 3 months, we engaged with the COC and the Housing Coalition, which is a group of local nonprofits that focus primarily on homelessness and housing services. We engaged with those organizations to ensure that they were able to provide input, which is a requirement of the HUD Home ARP Allocation Plan development. We collected provider surveys as well as an opportunity to engage with the public, so individuals who are recipients of services and who may engage within the homeless service provider network. In October, we met with the Scranton Housing Authority's executive director, as well as staff represented by North Penn Legal Services. We also met 3 separate times with the Housing Coalition, the first in September to outline our process, the second in October to solicit feedback, receive comments, and provide them the opportunity to engage and collect and issue the survey. And then most recently in November, we shared the findings outlined within the plan and provided them the opportunity to engage within the public hearings. As Eileen mentioned, we have 3 public hearings planned. The first was yesterday. Unfortunately, we did not receive public comment. We have our public hearing today, and we have a final public comment, public hearing tomorrow, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Through the consultation process, part of the requirement associated with developing the plan is to determine the gaps and needs within the existing homeless service delivery system. What was identified by the agencies surveyed was the least available services within the city of Scranton. First and foremost is temporary housing, followed closely by homeless provider services. So that's the emergency shelter sector here in temporary housing, moving someone from homelessness into a temporary living situation as they are then able to transition into permanent, stable, affordable housing. Each of the agencies identified barriers, challenges, gaps, and needs. Here is a summarization of the primary themes identified through the consultation process. Barriers, the largest and most frequently identified, were associated with tenants dealing with multiple needs or challenges facing housing stability in their previous housing history, which could include criminal background, multiple evictions, poor credit history, low income, or any other variety of bias or discriminatory factors. Challenges associated with accessing the housing and available resources. They may be out there and available for folks to engage with, but are unable to access them due to issues with childcare, transportation, employment, or the hours of operation. So that was identified as something that's difficult to navigate for folks within the community. Gaps. So transitional housing was a theme identified. A quote pulled specifically referencing opportunities for individuals attempting to return to society as healthy, functioning members of the community. So those were folks exiting institutions or long-term care facilities that needed additional supportive services surrounding their ability to maintain housing. And then ultimately the need through that entire spectrum of homeless provider services is ultimately the end goal being affordable housing. So, oops, I'll back up. Oh dear. So although the area of least available accessible needs is within that homeless and transitional housing sector, there was consensus in the fact that the solution to those problems is ultimately more available, affordable housing for folks with all sorts of challenges associated with maintaining their own permanent housing. So the two outcomes for prioritized activities of those I previously listed were the development and production and preservation of affordable housing, and supportive services, which include wraparound for residents to obtain and ultimately retain long-term affordable housing, which, as I mentioned, could include transportation, childcare, employment, housing counseling, quite a wide range of services available to support those individuals once they get into that affordable housing. The plan is available for review on the city's website. Once the plan is submitted and approved, the city then is in a position to provide those funds to community organizations. Their goal is to issue a notice of funding availability to those agencies that may be qualified for the eligible activities to facilitate the federal funds. And then once projects are identified, they will enter into a subrecipient agreement to issue and implement those programs. So again, the plan is available. I do encourage everyone to review it to have an understanding of how the city intends to focus and utilize the funds going forward. We are in the final stages of completing the process with the public comment being open. We do encourage public comment to incorporate into the plan. The city will execute a substantial amendment to their 2021 annual action plan, resulting in HUD submission. The plan is expected to be approved in 5 to 6 months is the going time frame at this point, because all entitlements across the country are in the final stages of submission, with the most recent guidance from HUD being that there's a submission deadline of March 31st of 2023. So there's quite a bit of backlog for plans that HUD will have to be reviewing and approving. So the city is expecting to issue the notice of funding availability in mid to late 2023. Of course, with, based off of when the plan is approved. So with that said, I welcome any questions, any additional information I can provide about the process or the outcomes. I'm happy to discuss.
Does any council members have any questions? I have a quick one. So you referred to transitional housing for the homeless. So what areas have been identified or targeted for this?
Are there any questions?
Were you able to hear that, Anna?
No, I could not hear.
Were you asking geographic areas or
Yes,
population
or
areas?
properties, or what stage are we at?
We don't have any properties identified for this. What we've determined over time, and this has come up in a number of our other subject matter expert conversations around mental health and drug prevention, was there is a critical need for that housing in the city. We'll see populations that are in the hospital and they're discharged, and they won't have that next step of housing to go to. So currently, we just realized that we do have not enough. We don't have a plan going forward at this point for identifying properties.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
So you're getting very close to submitting this?
Right, so our next, once we finish the public comment and pull that all back together, have the plan done, we'll have to come back before council with a substantial amendment. We've been through that process before, and then that will go to HUD.
And then what's the turnaround as far as approval?
As Anna has said, since everybody that is a direct entitlement in the country is submitting a plan, right now it's about 6 months.
It's about 6 months? Do we have people lobbying for us to get this funding?
We are entitled to the funding. It's $2.4 million.
So we're absolutely getting it?
Right, as long as they approve our plan, which we have every confidence they'll.
As long as we, right, dotted all our i's, crossed our t's.
And that's the process we're going through now.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other council members have questions?
No, just thank you. I'm excited that we have this opportunity and this money, because we do have a lot of those gaps in the city, something that I've noticed over the years, especially with the availability of say, homeless shelters and being able to help that population. So I'm looking forward to reviewing the final plan, and I hope that you receive more participation in the public hearings.
Thank you.
That is all. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your update this evening.
Thank you, everyone.